Good morning, students. This is your teacher Ankesh Singh, and today we are going to discuss the topic what we were discussing till now, that is life processes. We'll further move with the human digestive physiology, and we'll see the different parts of it what are left here. So let us see the overview of today's class. We have small intestine, then large intestine. We are going to see about the rectum and anus. Then we are going to discuss about the glands what we have, that is the salivary glands, liver, pancreas and gallbladder. So first let us see small intestine. So small intestine is one of the lengthiest part of the human physiology or human digestive physiology. It is about 7 meters long. It is divided into three different parts, that is duodenum, jejunum, ileum. If you see the diagram, you can see duodenum, jejunum and ileum, right? Now, this inner lining of the small intestine contains finger-like projections called villi. You can see the diagram of a villi here. You can see the diagram of a villi here. These finger-like projections are found inside the walls or internal walls of the small intestine, which helps to increase the surface area so that the absorption of the nutrients occurs much more well. This villi is covered by microvilli. Each of these villi is covered by several microvilli, which further increases the surface area of absorption. Here basically we increase the surface area because the more amount of surface area, the more amount of absorption will be taken and the more amount of nutrient it can take from a food. Now these villi is washed with internal blood capillaries. You can see the blood capillaries here. One is the red colored and another one is the blue color. So these are the blood capillaries which are being draining each of these villi. This duodenum receives the chyme. The duodenum part of the small intestine receives the chyme from the stomach. From the stomach it is coming out, and as it comes out along in this duodenum only, it mixes up with the digestive juices which are released from liver, gallbladder and pancreas, which ensures that the total digestion is complete in the jejunum part, and in the ileum it helps in absorption of the food and passing out into the bloodstream. Now after the small intestine comes the large intestine. If you see this diagram of a large intestine, it is a very critical diagram. It is a very complex diagram because it is being taken up from a medical textbook. But let us try to understand in brief. What we have here, it is a 5 feet long structure. It accepts the small intestine. Whatever the small intestine hasn't absorbed, this thing is absorbed in this large intestine. The connection point between the small intestine and the large intestine contains a vestigial organ, and the name of this vestigial organ is what? Vermiform appendix. It is divided into three different parts: ascending colon, transverse colon and descending colon. The final part of the descending colon is known as sigmoid colon because it forms a sigma like appearance. It mainly absorbs water and minerals and certain types of vitamins, and it stores in the sigmoid colon, it stores the unwanted waste which is being formed after the whole process of digestion. This unwanted waste is stored in the sigmoid colon and it is passed on to the rectum time after time. Here we can see some kind of fermentation going on for the carbohydrates. Also we can see some proteins are broken down at these places. Here the maximum amount, here inside the large intestine, maximum amount of water is absorbed. Whatever water is present in the food, whatever leftover water is present in the food, that is being absorbed, and it concentrates the waste. The waste that is found, it concentrates the waste. Next comes rectum and anus, the final part of the alimentary canal or the human digestive physiology is this rectum and anus. It is the chamber that begins at the end of the large intestine following the sigmoid colon. You can see the sigmoid colon here. This sigmoid colon falls on to what? Rectum, and this rectum falls into what? Anal chamber and finally anal canal. Here you have to keep 2 to 3 things in mind, that the sigmoid colon releases the waste here and it contains rectal valves. You can see these valves, these are called rectal valves. These rectal valves helps in the movement of the waste slowly through the rectum and passing out through the anal canal. The waste, as soon as the waste reaches this rectum, the central nervous system gets activated and it undergoes a response mechanism to defecate, that to pass out this waste from the body. This anus is protected by a sphincter muscles. It is protected by what? Sphincter muscles. There are two different sphincter muscles. Sorry. One is the internal anal sphincter muscle and the other one is the external anal sphincter muscle. The function of this sphincter muscle is to what? To protect this anal canal from the external environment, so that no bacteria can enter through this external environment inside the anal canal or through the rectum or inside the colon. So you have to keep this thing in your mind while studying this one. Finally, we'll move to the glands what we have. First one is what? The salivary gland. If you see this diagram, I have explained that these salivary glands are of three different types. What are they? Parotid, sublingual and submandibulary. These salivary glands releases saliva, which helps in the digestion of the food because it contains certain enzymes and also helps to soften the food. As I have said, salivary glands are of three different types: parotid, submaxillary and sublingual. All these glands releases saliva which has a neutral pH. That means it is neither acidic nor basic, it is neutral. This saliva which is released contains an enzyme that is known as alpha amylase. This alpha amylase helps in the digestion of carbohydrates. It keeps the internal mouth environment free from any kind of bacteria and it keeps it moist. The release of the salivary glands, that is saliva, this saliva release is being controlled by the central nervous system. As soon as we take food or as soon as our mouth gets dried up, it is being sensed by the different sense organs what we have inside our mouth, like tongue and different other parts, and then the central nervous system allows these salivary glands to release a saliva. After this we have liver and gallbladder. The master gland of the body that secretes bile, which is very much important for the emulsification of fat. Fat is not broken down, it is being emulsified and then it is being absorbed. So this emulsification of the fat is very much important in order to absorb the fat inside our body. And this emulsification is being done by whom? It is done by the liver and gallbladder. This liver is made up of hepatic cells which forms hepatic tissue, and finally it forms a liver. These hepatic cells are constantly drained with blood with the help of hepatic artery and hepatic vein. It releases the bile, which bile contains sodium taurocholate and sodium glycocholate, which helps in the emulsification of the fat, and the color of the bile is greenish yellow, which can be seen in the fecal matter. The bile which is released by the liver is concentrated inside the gallbladder. You can see the diagram here. It has a common duct. Through which the bile is released, and the gallbladder also helps to concentrate this bile. One thing you have to keep in mind while studying about liver, why it is called the master gland, because it controls several different processes of our body. If any kind of unwanted toxic substance went inside our body, if any drug went inside our body, all those things are being clarified or cleared by this liver. And this property of the liver is known as liver clearance. That is why whenever we make any kind of medicines, I guess you have seen medicines, you have seen tablets. Each of those tablets after the name, let us suppose XYZ and then 500 mg. This 500 mg is important for the drug because a portion of this 500 mg will be released or will be removed from the body by the liver. So whenever we produce a drug, whenever we administer a drug inside a human body, we keep this liver clearance in our mind. Next comes another important organ, that is pancreas. The other important organ other than liver which helps in the complete digestion of food, that is pancreas. It contains alpha cells and beta cells. Both these cells releases enzyme as well as it releases hormone. It releases enzymes like beta amylase, which is helpful for carbohydrate digestion, and also proteases for protein digestion. It ensures that the complete digestion of food has been occurred, and it acts as both endocrine and exocrine gland, because it releases enzymes as well as it releases hormones like insulin and glucagon. This insulin and glucagon is very much important inside a human body to maintain a correct balance of sugar. Sugar means the glucose level inside our body. So you can see the diagram here. This is the pancreas. It contains pancreatic islets which contains alpha cells and beta cells. These alpha cells and beta cells releases these hormones and the enzymes. What are the hormones? Insulin and glucagon. What is the function of the hormones? Beta amylase released helps in carbohydrate digestion, and protease that is released helps in protein digestion. After this, we will move on to the next lecture, that is we'll have something to see regarding the digestion, how this digestion actually occurs. We have seen that what are the organs, what are the accessory organs, and we have seen each and every part of the alimentary canal. In the next video, we are going to see that how the digestion occurs, what is the chemical reaction that is occurring inside a human body during this digestion, and then we'll move further on to the next system. Till then, see you all in the next session. Thank you for listening to this lecture. If you have any doubts regarding this particular small section, you can reach me at these two places, whichever is feasible to you. Until the next time, stay safe at your home and study well.